Welcome back to another week of nuclear news. Let's start with price action. The Sprott Uranium Miners ETF is underperforming the broader market year to date, down 5%. The S&P 500 is up so far this year. So this is exactly why mining stocks do not do well in environments like this. It all goes back to macroeconomics, right? Mining stocks require a constant stream of fresh capital to fund operation, especially if you're looking at the explorers, right? They need to raise money constantly, just pump money into the business, take on debt to fund these highly cash intensive businesses. So the fact of the matter is that mining stocks require low interest rate, easy money environments to do really well, right? Now, uranium has very good supply demand fundamentals, which is why they probably in the long run will do better than some other mining stocks. But regardless, mining stocks require an easy money environment. And right now we've had the exact opposite for over a year at this point, right? Largest and fastest rate hike in history by the Federal Reserve. That's what uranium stocks have had to deal with. And so it's just all macroeconomic driven, right? And so this is the reality of this business. Now, the good news, the very good news for anyone holding high quality assets, and at the same time, it's unfortunate news, is that the entire financial system is literally unraveling because uranium stocks, mining stocks are not the only assets that require easy money. Practically everything else does. Technology, banks, everything is falling apart right now. Commercial real estate looks like to be the next bubble to absolutely get pricked. Here is a chart showing how since the start of the pandemic, a lot of these office buildings were 100% occupied. Well, still, they're only, at this point, they're still only 50% occupied, meaning that they're probably never going to go back to the all-time highs, which means that these commercial real estate assets are worth half as much in terms of the cash flow that they can generate. So what are the loans of these buildings going to be worth when these buildings can't generate enough cash flow to pay them off? It is a massive bubble. It's about to collapse. High interest rates are causing this to collapse. We know there's problems in the banking sector. We've seen those already. And so the whole house of cards is coming down because everything requires low interest rates, not just mining stocks. To understand mining stocks, you have to understand macro. What's next for rates? Well, obviously, since the entire house of cards is literally about to crumble, the Federal Reserve is going to have to pump in massive liquidity into the system to save it. We're talking trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars to save commercial real estate, to save the banks, right? First Republic, Silicon Valley Bank are not the only banks with these problems. And so they're going to pump money in. They're going to have to lower interest rates. The economy is addicted to lower interest rates. And so that obviously will be good for the highest quality assets. So let's dive through the fundamentals of the uranium space. Are these high quality assets? Well, first up, we're in the early stages of the mass adoption of nuclear power. And there's brand new early stage technologies that are making this happen. X Energy is developing a pebble bed reactor that they say can't melt down. The bipartisan infrastructure law is investing in this advanced reactor by X Energy with fuel pebbles that can withstand extreme temperatures hotter than molten lava. What is the only reason that nuclear power has not been adopted as much as it should be? Because there's a narrative about it being unsafe. Well, if it can't melt down and there's technologies making this happen, then that is a game changer for this space. This is just one revolutionary technology. Let's talk about the supply demand fundamentals. China National Nuclear Power Company announces its largest ever annual investment in nuclear power of 80 billion yuan in 2023, a nearly 60% increase from 2022, right? So the models that all predicted massive growth, well, they just continue to accelerate investment in this space, requiring more and more uranium. Where are they going to get this uranium? Well, a lot of the Far East gets uranium from Kazakhstan, which comes out of Kazakhstan, right? And so the fear is that Kazakhstan is going to pump uranium into the market and just easily meet this demand, this rapidly accelerating growing demand. Well, let's see the situation with Kazatomprom. 2022 production by world's largest uranium producer was down 3% in 2022. Cash cost up 60%. CapEx up 61%. Sales price up 31%. Net profit up 111%. Why would they flood the market when they are profiting heavily with these current spot prices, right? They're just making money hand over fist, right? So if they flood the market, those profits are going to go down. So they're enjoying the tight supply, keeping it tight. Kazakhstan production down 3%. Absolutely massive what is going on. We're just puncturing a whole bunch of narratives right now. Let's look at the US. Nation deficient in nearly every aspect of nuclear fuel cycle and must end reliance on Russia. Senate Energy Committee debates urgency of resolving domestic uranium and nuclear fuel industry. We're getting bipartisan support for this. The U.S. is racing to revitalize its nuclear industry. The U.S. is ramping up its investments in nuclear power to bring it back from the brink and use it to support a green transition. Public opinion has swayed in favor of nuclear power due to its promotion as a clean energy source, and last year's energy crisis resulting in greater government funding for the energy source. We've just seen money pour in, right? Now, you would think with this growing demand and the need to shore up supply, you would think that it would just be coming out of the ground. The U.S. government investing heavily in infrastructure, building out these nuclear reactors, supporting extending the life of massive nuclear reactors, right? So you would think that supply is coming out in a sufficient quantities to meet this demand. But the reality is we have a report from the fourth quarter of 2022 looking at uranium production in the US. It's still practically nil. Look at 2022. We had a small blip in the fourth quarter of production. Practically nothing. It's come to a standstill. So all this does is exacerbate the supply demand crunch that's already existing, right? And so they can't get their act together. They need this vital resource out of the ground. The Senate is debating it ferociously, and yet still nothing is coming out. This is just like in Kazakhstan, around the world, not enough is being produced. And so we covered the picture in China. We covered the picture in the US. Massively growing demand, very tight supply. Let's see what's going on around the world. Germany, Spain push to keep nuclear out of EU renewable energy goals. So they're still trying to keep nuclear away. Let's see how that is working out. Germany not opposed to nuclear-made hydrogen, but says it will get it from France. So France is incredibly bullish on uranium and nuclear power, and they're investing in it. And Germany is just going to mooch off of France rather than producing it themselves. So they're still reliant on nuclear-produced energy, but they're just going to buy it from elsewhere for a higher cost than creating it themselves. That's fine, I guess. New UK-France partnership to bring more energy security and independence. UK and French governments have signed a new deal to help both nations achieve greater energy security by moving away from fossil fuels and towards renewables and nuclear power. So the United Kingdom, very bullish on nuclear power as well. Polls find strong support for nuclear in the UK and Switzerland. Britain's energy crisis and rising heating bills have fueled support among voters for new nuclear reactors to be built in the UK, a survey has found. Meanwhile, a public opinion poll in Switzerland suggests that about half the population favors the continued use of nuclear energy. New wave for mini nuclear reactors plan to accelerate UK's drive for net zero. The government's energy security strategy, to be published later this month, will also contain plans for carbon capture and storage. So the government's energy security strategy rolling out, going to include mini nuclear reactors, which we know we're still in the early stages of. And so again, just the UK investing further in this space. France also investing heavily in small modular reactor technology. CEA spins off 2 companies for SMR development. The French Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission has spun off 2 nuclear startups, Hexana and Stellaria, for the development of small modular reactors. We really haven't seen these yet, but they're coming, right? Huge countries investing in it. Edison relaunches nuclear power in Italy, and now the government is facilitating the technologies. Yet another European powerhouse investing in it. Seaborg joins Praxis coal to nuclear initiative. TerraPraxis and Danish floating nuclear power plant developer Seaborg have agreed to assess Seaborg's compact molten salt reactor as a potential heat source to support the rapid decarbonization of the entire global coal fleet, right? So just putting this small modular reactor technology to work. The Netherlands also supporting it. Province of Limburg to look at SMRs for industry. We may have covered this already, but initiative seeks sustainable power for local net zero transition. Uganda targeting nuclear by 2031, with 6 other countries also committed to reactors. First 2-unit station planned for Buyende, 150 kilometers north of the capital, right? Africa as well. And if the mass adoption of nuclear power on planet Earth is not enough for you, let's see what's going on in outer space. Nuclear in space. Rolls-Royce gets 2.9 million pounds for research into moon-based micro-reactor. Aim of project is to deliver demonstration plant, right? So this technology cannot be contained to planet Earth. It's going to be clearly distributed across the galaxy, right? That's how revolutionary it is. We're still in the very early stages of the supply crunch, but also the revolutionary technology that's going to make this all work. And obviously, we're in the early stages of getting it out of the ground, right? Not nearly enough to meet what's coming.